Hello everyone. Today we look at an American poetry called Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson. So first let's look at the poet's background. Sir Robinson was born in the year 1869 and he was a very unhappy kid. He had written to Amy Lowell, a fellow poet, that he remembered wondering at age 6 why he had ever been born. So this thought lasted all through Robinson's life, and this thought is also reflected in most of his poems, including Richard Cory. And after a difficult childhood, Robinson had a difficult early career as well because he couldn't find any publishers to publish his poems. And so, what he did was he began to self publish his poem, and that's how his first self published poem, Captain Craig and Other Poems, was published in 1902. And this collection, that is Captain Craig and Other Poems, it ended up in the hands of President Theodore Roosevelt, who went wild for Robinson's works. So the president helped Robinson to get a steady job at New York Customs House, and this allowed Robinson to keep on writing his poetry. With the steady income, Robinson began to publish many more poems and bagged many prizes, like winning 3 Pulitzer Prizes in the year 1922, 1925 and 1928. And he was also nominated for the Nobel Prize of Literature for 4 times. So apart from his achievements, the themes that are concerned in Robinson's poetry are mostly sad. So he wrote about sad people and sad poems. In his poems, Robinson established a repetitive set of thematic and technical concerns. So the themes of personal failure, artistic endeavor, materialistic life, and inevitability of change. So these themes were repeated in all of Robinson's poetry, and in his poems he uses a laconic everyday speech kind of style. And the best of Robinson's poems are called the Tilbury Town Cycle. So this Tilbury Town was a setting which is repeated in most of Robinson's poems. And this town is modeled upon Robinson's hometown called Gardiner in Maine. One interesting thing about Robinson's works is that he only concentrated on writing poetry and he did not deviate to writing fiction, short story or essays. He consistently wrote only poems throughout his life. So that is one of the interesting things about his career. So some of the ideas and concepts in Robinson's own life, it has also found a place in his poetry as well, including Richard Cory. So before we go into the poem, let us look at the background to the poem. So the composition of the poem occurred while the United States economy was still suffering from the severe depression of the Panic of 1893. So during this panic, people often subsisted on day-old bread, and this is alluded to in the poem's last before stanza. So the Panic of 1893 was a national economic crisis set off by the collapse of 2 of the country's largest employers, that is the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad and the National Cottage Company. So following the failure of these 2 companies, a panic erupted on the stock market, and hundreds of businesses had overextended themselves, borrowing money to expand their business. So when the financial crisis struck, banks and other investment firms, they began to call in loans, causing hundreds of business bankruptcies across the United States. The most affected businesses during this panic of 1893 was banks, railroads and steel mills. And unemployment rates soared to 20 to 25% in the United States during the panic of 1893. Homelessness skyrocketed, and the unemployed also had difficulty buying food due to the lack of income. So at this backdrop only, Richard Cory was written in the year 1897, having this panic of 1893 as its backdrop. So this poem, Richard Cory, is a narrative poem, and it was first published in 1897 as part of The Children of the Night. And it is one of Robinson's most popular and anthologized poems. So this poem has 4 stanzas which look alike. They are similar in style and structure, but the content that is carried in each stanza differs greatly. because the first three stanzas seem to be similar, but the final stanza changes everything that had been said before. So let's move into a stanza by stanza analysis of the poem. So the first stanza. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. So the characters are established in the first stanza. We come to know of the speaker also in the first stanza. So the speaker of Richard Cory is a collective we that is said in the second line of the first stanza. The first word of the second line, we people on the pavement. So we people here are the speakers of this poem. So the poem describes them as we people are on the pavement. So the people live downtown and they all admire Mr. Richard Cory, who visits them from time to time. So there are two ways of interpreting this we. Either we as a sort of a Greek chorus, that is the voice of many telling the story of Richard Cory, or we as a voice of an individual speaking not only for himself but for his fellow townspeople as well. So, but looking at the structure of this poem, we can say that it is only the second case where we as a voice of an individual speaking for his community. So maybe there is one person who represents the community that is living in the pavement and who admires Richard Cory from a distance. So this Richard Cory, he seems to be a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. So sole to crown in the sense from feet to head. So sole in the sense the foot sole. So from feet to head he seems to be a gentleman. And he was clean-favored and imperially slim. So there are references to king here because from sole to crown. So crown in the sense as in kings wear crowns, and also the last line imperially slim. So imperial in the sense it denotes a ruler or an emperor. So he is not slim out of lack of food or out of poverty, but he was slim because he wants to be slim as in rich people are slim. So that way he is imperially slim like a king. So there are references to king here. So maybe the poet is trying to tell us something that we don't know, and this reference to king also has a hidden meaning to it. So let us look at it in detail later. So sole to crown, here sole also can be called as a homonym. So homonyms are words that have same sound but are spelt differently and have different meanings. So here the homonym of sole is S-O-U-L, soul. So maybe Richard Cory is not only a gentleman from head to toe, but also a gentleman deep in his soul too. So he is more like a king. He is kingly, and that is how it is described from sole to crown and imperially slim. So king can be a metaphor here, and so the poet, what he is trying to tell in the first stanza is that he is clearly establishing a distance between the speaker and the Richard Cory, and Richard Cory is explained to be a gentleman from sole to crown, and he is more like a king as in he is imperially slim. So moving on to the second stanza, and he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked. So the first two lines, the first four words are being repeated. The first phrase is repeated. So this kind of repetition is called anaphora. So maybe the poet uses this anaphora to give a repetitive feel to the poem. And Richard Cory was quietly arrayed in the sense he was dressed in a fine but conservative attire. And he was always human when he talked. Human in the sense he must have been very down to earth and he must have been a very humble person. But still he fluttered pulses when he said good morning, and he glittered when he walked. So he fluttered pulses as in that was the kind of effect he had on people, making their hearts beat faster. And he glittered when he walked. So maybe his dress is glittering in the sunlight. So maybe he is wearing all these costly jewelries and attires that are shining in the sunlight and making him glitter like a god. So a kind of a godly attribute is also being referred to Richard Cory here. So in the first stanza we saw how he was almost king-like, being a gentleman, and then in the second stanza we see how he is very humble and he dresses very finely and he is also glittering like a gold. So a godly attribute is also added to Richard Cory's character. So moving on to the third stanza, and he was rich. So again the first three words and he was, it is again repeated. So again a repetition of anaphora is brought here by the poet. He was richer than a king. So again a comparison to royalty. So here the poet is straight away comparing him to a king. He was more richer than a king. So he was also wealthy. So he was not only good looking, he was not only dressed in a fine manner, he was not only humble, but he was also very wealthy and admirably schooled in every grace. So just like royalty children are schooled in all talents, Richard Cory is also well versed and very efficient in all the work that he does. In fine, we thought that he was everything to make us wish that we were in his place. So, in summary, in short, the people thought that he was everything. That is, he had everything that a man could ever ask for. He was the perfect man. And it also made them to wish that they were in his place. So, it brings a slight kind of envious attitude to the people. So, they are no longer in awe and admiration of Richard Cory, but they are also a little jealous of his good fortune. So that is also revealed in this stanza. So Richard Cory's character is clearly established in the first two stanzas, and in the third stanza we see that he is also materially wealthy, and the people in the pavement, they have a kind of an envious attitude towards him. They have developed this kind of jealousy towards Richard Cory. So maybe he was what they had aspired to become. He had everything that they had ever wished for in their life. So that is what is giving them, setting them apart from Richard Cory and giving them an envious attitude towards him. So let us look at the final stanza. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. So on we worked. Again, the people, they had been working and working all their life. So this again we can look at the background to the poem, that is the Panic of 1893. So the people were left with absolutely no income, and that forced them to live with almost no food. So what they did was they went without the meat. So meat became an expensive commodity to them. They did not have meat for many years, and they had to only do with the stale bread they had. So one loaf of bread, and they had to go for weeks with that. So that was the kind of miserable life they were leading, and they waited for the light. So it can be a metaphor for a better day, a better situation in their life. So they were waiting for their life to improve. And at that time, what Richard Cory was doing, and Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. So what he did was, people were thinking that he had everything, he had no worry in this world. But what he did, he went home and he took away his own life. He had committed suicide. So if he had everything, then why should he kill himself? And we can never find out why. And this raises more questions than answers. Was he depressed, isolated, or heartbroken? He had all that a man could ever wish for, yet nothing convinced him to live on. So this brings us to the crucial question, can we ever really know another person? And that the answer will be no. So let's have a quick analysis of the poem. So the setting of this poem is, as is common in all of Robinson's poetry, it is the fictional town of Tilbury. And the title meaning. So there are three references to kingly attributes in the poem. That is, in the first stanza we saw from soul to crown, and then we saw imperial. And then in the third stanza we saw that he was compared to a king, that he was richer than a king. So there had been a repetitive comparison to kings and Richard Cory. So maybe the poet had modeled the name Richard Cory after England's King Richard I. And the nickname of King Richard I was Richard Cover de Lion. So maybe if the first two words of his nickname are taken, it sounds more like Richard Cory. So maybe the poet had used this for the title of this poem. But this is not a sure set fact. It is only just an assumption. It is only, guessing why the poet had chosen this particular name to name his character. So that is only an assumption of whether he had taken the name from King Richard I, but it is not sure. So thematic analysis, there is this age-old expression, proverb called appearances are often deceptive. So the same idea can be used here to deconstruct this poem, that is, we look at Richard Cory from outward. So the external appearance of Richard Cory, suggested that he was the perfect embodiment of a man because he had both physical wealth and material wealth. But internally, the struggles that he was going through, it can only be guessed at. We can never really know what was happening inside of him. So this poem also talks about the temporary nature of wealth and happiness, because Richard Cory was very wealthy, but still he chose to end his life. So there must be something that was bigger than wealth, that was bigger than monetary gain, that must have been torturing him in order for him to commit suicide. So that is also touched upon by the poet. And we can also look at this poem from an existential point of view, wherein the modern lifestyle, the background to which the poet had based this poem on, is that the Panic of 1893, where there was a severe economic depression. So during that time, a lot of suicides were committed by people all around. So in the same way, maybe Richard Cory was wealthy, but maybe he was forced to do this because of a sudden change in fortune. Further, the gap between the rich and poor. So we see in the poem that Richard Cory comes forward, approaches the poor, and he tries to initiate a conversation wishing them a good morning. But the people are they distance themselves from Richard Cory, and there is a clear distinction between them. And that is the distance between the rich and the poor, the upper class and the lower class. And it was further widened by the economic depression that was happening during that time. So maybe because of this distinction, Richard Cory was feeling extremely isolated and lonely. So that can also be taken as a reason for Richard Cory committing suicide. So, as I already said, all these are only assumptions and we can only guess at these might have beens. We can never really know the real reason behind Richard Cory's suicide, and that is what the poet is trying to tell us through this poem, that we can never guess what is going inside a person. The struggle that the person is feeling inside is invisible for an outsider. So that is the crux of the poem that the poet is trying to tell us in this poem. So with that, we come to the end of the session. So if you have any doubts or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching the video.